quarterback position is still undecided, but not necessarily a bad thing because both quarterbacks played well. That plus more on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for Monday, August 12th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. And as always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that. The show continues to grow each and every day, and that's because of you, Raider Nation, and because of my man Ari, who does a great job making sure we're up on YouTube, we're looking good, and we're sounding good. Over 15,000 subscriptions already, so that's awesome. So definitely appreciate that. You can check out Ari on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. Your calls and texts will come up in segment number 3. Of course, a lot of feedback based off what you were able to see in Saturday's preseason game. The Raiders lose to the Vikings 24-23. So plenty of feedback coming up in segment number 3. Segment number 2 will really break down Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, what we saw in game action. Not what I saw in training camp, not what I seen in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, but what we all saw in game action, preseason game number 1 versus the Vikings, and how much closer are the Raiders to a decision on who their starting quarterback is going to be. That all come up in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, just news and notes, just quickly kind of scatter shooting, going over the game that we saw on Saturday. We'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So when you look at the game on Saturday, super excited to see Raider football back. I was part of the pregame show and the postgame show from Raiders HQ, and it was just exciting. It felt fun. Felt, just like I said, just juice and a bolt of energy, knowing that there was actually a game going to happen, even though it was a preseason game against another opponent. And in the first half, there was really a lot of reason to get excited. The Raiders go into halftime up 20-7, right? The Raiders defense didn't look fantastic. It was one of the areas of the team that I was really excited and fired up about. It didn't look great. It looked like the Vikings were able to get basically what they wanted to early, especially on the ground, and that was a little bit concerning. But when they got down by the goal line, they went for it on 4th and goal, and the Raiders defense was able to, bow up its neck and stop them from scoring. So what does that mean? The Raiders take over the ball on the 5-yard line and have to try to go the length of the field. And again, they did really good. Now, they didn't turn that into a touchdown in the first, the first drive. Aiden O'Connell leads them down there. They end up getting a field goal. But to be able to bow up your neck and stop a team from scoring, and then being in a bad situation, which is a great teaching moment, being in a bad situation, the shadow of your own goal, to be able to get down the field and have some timely passes and timely runs that really help put you in that position, I thought was a really good, kind of just sign that the team was at least headed in the right direction. Of course, there was a lot of questions going into the game, what Luke Getsy was going to look like as far as the offensive play caller, what the game plan was going to be. It was going to be very similar to what we saw in Green Bay when Getsy and Devontae Adams were there together, but you don't know until you see exactly what it is. And for the most part, I thought it was a pretty good showing from the team, from the offense. The defense did its part. It still needs to be a lot better, especially the run defense, as I mentioned before. But I believe that that's something that they'll definitely, work on and get, the kinks worked out sooner rather than later, even potentially before this game coming up on Saturday versus the Dallas Cowboys. So wanted to get a couple thoughts from Antonio Pierce as he talked after the game. He also spoke on Sunday, met with the media by way of Zoom, so we got to have a few minutes with AP. So off top, here's his just overall assessment of what he thought about his team on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we had a drought the entire game. Obviously, AJ boomed a couple balls, flipped the field for us. Daniel had a big-time field goal there that helped us as well. 3 big returns there. We had a block field goal. So a lot of good things on special teams. Offensively, when you look at the 2 quarterbacks and what they're able to do, both guys, contributing and putting us in scoring positions. I thought our O-line did a good job in that first group of just really protecting the quarterback, getting off the rock, what we talked about. Defensively, the negatives is the run game. I mean, we harped on that all training camp. It hadn't shown up, and just gap integrity and things I talked about earlier need to show up. But I thought our secondary, Trayvon, Jack Jones, Marcus Epps, JB all did a really good job in their reps.
So there was AP just kind of giving his overall assessment of the team, special teams, offense, defense, everything that he thought. And look, it's still special. It's still preseason for him. And he had a mistake that he made towards the end of the game. And he admitted that he made a mistake when it came to calling timeouts and basically preserved the game for the Vikings, which didn't make a whole lot of sense when it was going on. But, again, learning moments, right? Preseason for everybody. But the overall assessment of the team, I think he was pretty spot on with what he said. The one thing that I took away from this game, especially when it comes to the offense, they've got to stay on schedule. They've got to stay on schedule. And I know that you can say, well, that's for every team, Q. And you're right. But for this team in particular, the way that they're going to want to run the ball and really possess the ball and have the time of possession. If you look at the time of possession, the Raiders had the ball for about 34 minutes of this game. Right? I mean, that's what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to have that ball control. You're not going to see a ton of explosive plays, but penalties, sacks, negative plays, it's going to heavily impact this team more than you would say some teams that have the ability to stretch the field and get a big-time play. Like if they have multiple delay of game penalties like the Raiders had on Saturday, that's going to shoot them in the foot. If they get, a holding penalty on a possession, and they lose 10 yards, that's going to really hurt them, right? If all of a sudden they look up, it's 1st and 20, this offense is going to be hurt by that. So they really have to do everything they can to stay on schedule because that's just going to be, a tough pill for them to be able to swallow or a tough hill for them to climb, right, if they're trying to overcome these things. The depth is not quite where the team needs it to be. I think some of the young guys that were out there, some of the guys like the D-Cam Richardsons, the MJ Devonshires, the Dylan Lobbies, even the DJ Glazes, guys like that, they look like young guys. Right. And so, again, it's just one preseason game, not going to get too high or too low. It's never as good as it looks and it's never as bad as it looks. Right. That's kind of the motto I like to live by when it comes to these things. But, they look like young guys. They look like the game was the game. Like, whoa, this is, bigger than training camp. And so we'll see how they adjust going into game number 2 against the Dallas Cowboys. But clearly right now the depth is not where it needs to be. And the Raiders' run defense, that's something that AP was pretty upset about. That was something that was obvious. I mean, they gave up 142 yards on 22 carries, right? And they had some explosives, some big explosive plays. Obviously, there's some miscommunication in the secondary as well. But my bigger concern would be the run defense and the struggles on the run defense. As a matter of fact, here's Antonio Pierce talking about those struggles and why they struggled to stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, just us, ability to get off blocks. It's different. You're in training camp going against your own guys. You don't throw nobody on the ground. There's not a lot of violent sheds, but we need to get back to being heavy-handed, getting off blocks, second-level defenders, the linebackers, safety, and stars, just getting the right fits, not falling back too soon. And then we just need to condense the space. There's too many open lanes where those running backs are coming down full speed down the second level and even up to our safeties and obviously create a big play.
So, again, it was something that he talked about, didn't pop up in training camp, but then again, you're not tackling to the ground. Right, so it's just kind of one of those things where you assume, oh, that's a tackle. Oh, that's a tackle. That's a tackle. Well, when you get into a game situation like the Raiders were on Saturday, all of a sudden it's not an easy tackle, right? You can't just two-hand touch them and say you're down. You got to get those guys down. And so that's something that they've really got to work on throughout the course of this week, prepare for the Cowboys, obviously the Niners the next week, and get ready for week 1 against the Chargers because I don't know if you know, the Chargers are going to want to run the ball. Right? The Baltimore Ravens week 2 are going to want to run the ball. And if all of a sudden that's the Achilles heel of this Raiders defense, then that's going to be a struggle. I still truly believe this defense is going to be special, but they're going to definitely have to clean that up. Now, here's Antonio Pierce on an update on the PUP guys. And when I say the PUP guys, I'm talking about Colton Miller and JPJ, both still on the PUP list. Again, August 27th is that date you're looking for. If they don't come back by then, they missed the first four games of the season. So here's AP on the guys on the PUP list and if he expects them to come back anytime soon.
Yeah, well, Colton Miller's been working out on the side. Jackson's been doing the same thing. I'm really hoping, I mean, don't hold me to it. I'm hoping it's after this week. I don't see it happen during the week. But I'm hoping after the Dallas game we get those guys back.
Antonio Pierce talking about Colton Miller and JPJ both working off to the side. Of course, Colton Miller's coming back. He had the shoulder surgery in the offseason. He's still working his way back, hoping to get him back, but probably not this week, not till after the Cowboy game, which, again, is a little concerning for me, and especially Jackson Powers-Johnson, right? Not to getting him back till after the Cowboy game as well. Remember, this is the guy that Tom Telesco told us when we were in Costa Mesa at training camp is going to come back soon. He's really quickly coming back, and he has not come back yet. And I don't know, there's a lot of different conversations going on. What's going on with JPJ? It's been noted. It's a concussion. He had a concussion. I don't know when he got the concussion. I don't know how he got the concussion, but he's coming back from that. So there was a lot of confusion on Saturday. There was a lot of tweets going back and forth, and somebody saying shoulder injury and somebody saying something. It's a concussion. He's coming back from a concussion, bottom line. So to me, that's concerning. You need to have him out there. He's a starting left guard, just like Colton Miller's a starting left tackle. But if he can't get out there, he can't get out there. That's the problem. So at least, he is around the team. I saw him in Costa Mesa, in the cold tank with Colton Miller multiple times, getting into the tub. They went out and had that beach day walkthrough. He was out there for that and everything. So that's good. But he's got to get out there on the field, and he has not had one day of training camp yet. So that, to me, is something to be concerned about. Just got a couple more sound bites from AP real quick. And I mentioned the timeouts, and a lot of people were confused by why he was calling timeouts at the end of the game. Here's Antonio Pierce on those timeouts decisions and even a follow-up.
Yeah, lesson learned. We talked about it, thought maybe something that will play out a little differently. If I could do it over again, probably would.
Coach, going back to the timeouts you talked about, how much of a learning experience is that? Like, how valuable is that for you, especially as a younger coach, to have game situations where you can find things that you can learn from?
Well, I think it's just all of us. Matt Sheldon, who helps out with game management and situation. I think all of us need to go back and evaluate it. It's a preseason. There's things that we were going to do differently in the preseason that we do in the regular season. That was one example there.
So clearly, as you heard him say, he wouldn't do that again, right? That was a game situation. Apparently that they were talking about it. I'm not too sure what the discussion was, and I would think that that'd be a moment where Marvin Lewis would jump in and say, hey, this is not a good decision. Don't call timeouts here. Don't call timeouts here. I guess the end result was maybe they were calling timeouts to try to get the ball back and preserve some time. But if anything, it just preserves some time for Minnesota. So as you heard AP say, probably wouldn't do that again. And one more soundbite from Antonio Pierce as he met with us on Sunday by way of Zoom was about the special teams play, kick return, punt return, what he thought of that. And honestly, outside of Daniel Carlson, a couple kicks that he probably would like to have back, I thought they did a pretty good job. But here's Antonio Pierce giving his thoughts.
Well, one, with our kickoff returns, we wanted to get every return possible. So, yeah, we could have probably taken the knee of some of those in the end zone, but we want to give our guys a chance to showcase their return ability, and we made some plays on some. With the kickoffs, obviously there's, 2 or 3 there kicks that Daniel, I know, wish he had back, and we all did, but, that's a part of it that you're watching throughout the league. We're all learning and growing. Hell, I think the opening kickoff, if you guys are really paying attention, our guys line at the 45 and they're at the 40. The officials are all off, so it took a minute for everybody to kind of get their sorts underneath them, but you've seen everybody pretty much be vanilla in the preseason with the kickoff and how they're attacking on kickoff return. I think the key part for us is just seeing our guys run down and cover and who can make space tackles.
There's the assessment right there from head coach Antonio Pierce on special teams, and it does look like the Raiders are going to have an opportunity to make some good plays. Some big explosive plays either in the punt return game. I thought Trey Tucker did a good job there. The kick return game, I think it's still evolving. Of course, the kickoff is going to be something that they're working on as well. As, like I said, Daniel Carlson probably has a couple kicks that he'd like to get back. And the running game, I think the running backs are going to be just fine. I really do. I think that this zone blocking scheme that they're running is very favorable for them. But Zamir White, 6 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. They actually brought him back in later in the game to try to punch it in. He did. He's a strong, massive dude, so I think that he's going to have an opportunity. And I think Alexander Madison is a really good number 2, 3 carries, 15 yards on the day. So I think the running game will be just fine. But who's going to be the starting quarterback? Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew? Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? We'll talk about both guys coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And it's not just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. They're constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, make the process even easier and even quicker. Right now, what you got to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to dedicate this whole segment just to the quarterback competition because, well, it deserves at least a segment, right? And, of course, that's the biggest question when it comes to this Raiders team. Who's going to be the starting quarterback, Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew? And the thing about it is, neither one of these guys made the decision any easier, and it's not because they were both bad. It was because they were both good, right? So, I mean, that's a positive to see that, okay, both these guys clearly have an understanding of the offense and go out there and execute. And I'll give Aiden O'Connell a ton of credit. He looked better on Saturday than he looked all of training camp. And that's just being as real as possible. He looked better on Saturday in game action than he did throughout the course of training camp. He gets the ball on the 5-yard line and has to try to get out of his own end zone and get all the way down the length of the field. And he did that until he took a sack at the end, and then they had to settle for a field goal. Some of that was on the wide receivers. They ran the wrong route. They actually ran into each other in the end zone. There was a couple passes that even one to Brock Bowers that he delivered that if he had delivered a little bit earlier is probably a touchdown as opposed to just a big gain. But for the most part, man, you put these guys in this type of position, you start a guy at the 5-yard line and say, all right, good luck, right? And he did, and he went out there and he did well. 7 for 9 on the day, 76 yards, and had to settle for that field goal. And unfortunately for Aiden O'Connell, that was the only drive he had of the game. And so some people was like, oh, what's going on? How come he only got one and Gardner Minshew gets like 4 drives? The plan going in was 1 quarter for Aiden, 1 quarter for Gardner. That's the plan going in next week against the Cowboys as well. The problem is O'Connell's drive was so long, and the Vikings' drive had been long too. By the time you look up, it was already the quarter was over. So he literally only got 1 drive. Again, not anyone's fault. It was not a conspiracy. It wasn't we're going to get Minshew more work than O'Connell. It just happened to work out that way that the drive was so long that the quarter got wrapped up. But I thought O'Connell did some really good things. Thought he stood tall in the pocket, delivered the ball where it needed to be, got guys involved. Obviously, Jacoby Myers is as advertised. Brock Bowers is as advertised. Those guys got involved early. Michael Mayer, a nice pass in the middle of the field to Michael Mayer for a first down off the shadow of his own goal line. Thought that was really impressive. Now, again, at the end, he took the sack, and instead of being able to make a decision on going for it on 4th down if they needed to, they had to settle for a field goal. And again, it wasn't 100% his fault, but he backed himself into the sack, right? I mean, but he might have been able to get the ball off earlier if the 2 wide receivers don't run into each other. So, there was a lot that went into play there, but it just shows that his mobility isn't there. And he just doesn't have it. He did step into up into the pocket on that drive on a previous play, which was encouraging. Look, he's not going to ever be mistaken for a guy that's going to be running around the yard, but he's got to be able to at least step up into the pocket and deliver the ball, right? Instead of, on the play he gets sacked, he's backpedaling, rolled right into it. Again, I know that it wasn't just solely his fault, but it just happened to work out that way. Aiden O'Connell, so 7 for 9, 76 yards on the 1 drive. Gardner Minshew had multiple drives, right? I mean, there was a turnover that Jack Jones created, the interception, and Jack Jones, let's talk about that guy, right? Jack Jones still looks good, right? Had a really good end of the season for the Raiders, had a good training camp, and picked up in the preseason game right where he left off. But he intercepts the ball, gets the ball back to the Raiders' defense and our offense, and then Gardner Minshew starts to go to work and delivers the ball, gets the ball down the field, and get him in the end zone. Nice touchdown pass to DJ Turner. But the biggest key to that drive is the fact that on 3rd down, when nothing was there, Gardner Minshew was able to do what Gardner Minshew does, which is run. He was able to scramble, pick up the 1st down, keep the drive alive, and then they ultimately end up getting the touchdown. That's the difference, and that's something that we talked about quite a bit here on the show, right? I mean, both quarterbacks have qualities that you like. Both guys have warts, right? There's things that Minshew does that you don't like. Like Minshew, one of his biggest crutches and his biggest flaw that is going to get exposed is that he rolls to the right. When he rolls out to the right. So if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm watching film and I see this dude's tendencies to roll right, guess what I'm doing? I'm having an extra defender come from the right because I know when he tries to escape, boom, he's going to run right into me. If I could pick that up just watching in one game, guess what a defensive coordinator is going to do? He's going to be all over that. So that's something he's got to do. He backpedals, and then he rolls to the right. And sometimes he gets out of there a little sooner than he should. Those are the warts that Minshew has. And that's the problem that you look at and you say, okay, that could be a problem. But he also has the ability to scramble, like I mentioned, and pick up that 1st down and keep that drive alive. Instead of settling for a field goal, the Raiders get a touchdown. So, Minshew goes 6 for 12, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Neither guy turned the ball over. Neither guy made the decision any easier for AP and the coaching staff on who's going to be the starting quarterback, just because they both did some really good things. Matter of fact, here's Antonio Pierce as he spoke to us on Sunday on the quarterback competition.
Yeah, I thought, like I said last night, Aiden had, 9 attempts there. Gardner had 12. Obviously you like the numbers to be equal, but they weren't. But I thought both guys were efficient. I thought there were some opportunities that Minshew made down the field that was really good. But I thought, both quarterbacks, obviously when it's a clean pocket, man, you can see what this offense could be with both guys. But I thought they really did a good job of the operations. We did have one delay game with Gardner that, we need to clean up. But I thought Aiden did a really good job from being backed up down the red zone. And Gardner, 2-minute drill, everything we wanted to get out of it, out of preseason one we got.
So an automatic, follow-up to that is if there's any timeline when they're going to make a starting quarterback decision. Here's AP on that.
Yeah, the goal would be to hopefully make a decision after this game this Saturday. We got to get ready to play football. And I think guys have, we got enough film. We'll have 2 games here to evaluate both quarterbacks to see how they'll play. And we haven't really made a decision on who's going to start or not. But either way, both will play a quarter.
So it should be an interesting week, right? Antonio Pierce is hoping to be able to make the decision on who the starting quarterback is following this game on Saturday versus the Cowboys. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to. That might, I might come on this show on Monday and say, yeah, there's still no decision, or a decision hasn't been announced. That's the other thing. He might not come out and announce who the quarterback's going to be, but he might have, by the time the Cowboys game is over, a great idea of who he thinks that dude is going to be. But again, both have qualities that you like. Both have warts, right? O'Connell still holds on to the ball too long, doesn't move around too much, but he stands tall in the pocket, has some good accuracy and a strong arm. Minshew, he can roll, or he can use his legs to get out of trouble. He can keep the play alive, get a little, backyard football from time to time, but he rolls out to the right. And that is something that is going to get picked up on so quickly, and defensive coordinators are going to expose that. And then he set up Harrison Bryant for a medicine ball, right? He threw a pass to Harrison Bryant, the tight end, that he should have never thrown, and got him lit up. Like, you got to be able to protect your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, whoever is catching the ball from you. You've got to be smart and be able to protect them from themselves. And I got to give Derek Carr credit. That's something that he used to do really well. Sometimes people would say, "Oh, that's a throw that's behind the wide receiver." No, he'd throw it in a position where the wide receiver had to slow and stop. So he doesn't run into a big, massive hit. Gardner Minshew let Harrison Bryant run into a massive hit. Like, you can't have that. You've got to be able to protect your receivers, protect your backs, whoever's getting the ball from you, you got to be able to protect. So this is going to be an important week of practice. It's going to be an important game on Saturday against the Cowboys. I'm assuming that Minshew is going to get the start since O'Connell got the start on Saturday, but that's not necessarily what's going to happen, right? It hasn't been announced yet. AP has not said who's actually going to get the start, but both guys will play a quarter, just like both guys played a quarter in the last game. The one thing I could say about the quarterback competition, there wasn't an Anthony Brown sighting that was good that had, Raider fans saying, well, maybe that should be the guy like I thought was going to happen, because he did do some good things in training camp. Did not look the part in the third quarter at all on Saturday's game. But then again, the team didn't look the part in the second half of the game on Saturday. So really it was a tale of two halves. The first half, a lot of good things to talk about, a lot of fun to talk about, a lot of promise there. Second half, not so much, more of a snooze fest. Seemed like the second half of that game took forever. So there's that. But right now there is no clear-cut leader in the clubhouse. I like the fact that Minshew was able to step up. That was the one play that really stood out to me the most. He was able to step up and pick up that first down on third down with his legs. I think that that's so critical. But it's really a neck and neck race that hopefully by Saturday versus the Cowboys will be decided. But we'll know when we know. So what was your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on the quarterback? 707-654-4693. It's coming up at segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're in your speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Here we go, Raider Nation, segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and text straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with an oldie but goodie, man. Vader Raider in the 303. Hasn't called in a while, but he's calling to give his feedback on the game versus Minnesota. Here he is, Vader Raider in the 303.
Q, Raider Nation. It's your boy, Vader Raider. So, haven't called in a while. Hope everybody's doing well. Q, thank you for everything you're doing for the nation, and thank you for all the work you've been putting in. Just a couple thoughts on the game. First of all, I'm going to say it because, hey, I'm going to say it. Preseason. Relax. We don't need to win a preseason game. Okay? Just relax. Okay? I'd rather we lose all of them. That would make me feel a whole lot better about it. First of all, the quarterbacks. Let's talk about it. I really liked Gardner Minshew's play, but here's the thing. I also like Aiden O'Connell's arm. I mean, Aiden O'Connell can stand in the pocket and deliver the football when he has time. The one thing, I mean, the sack down by the goal line proved it. He has no pocket awareness. I mean, he has some pocket awareness, but he just, when he locks in, it's a second-year guy. You can obviously see it. So, that is unfortunate, and that is something that Aiden will have to work on. Going into this, right now, I like Gardner Minshew's play. I really do. And it's kind of funny because I think you said it best. If you could take little bits and pieces of each quarterback, you would have yourself Josh Allen. You would have a Patrick Mahomes. You would have a stud quarterback if you could take little bits and pieces of both of them and make one QB. But obviously we can't. Defense, not worried about that either. Held them to 7 points. I mean, the second stringers in the second half, we have to think about if that would have actually happened. I mean, people getting all crazy about it, calm down. If it was the second half of the game, they probably would have had a hard time coming back. That's the way I'm looking at it. Jack. What else can we say? Jack's the man. I'm sorry. That's our guy. We got a cover corner, and he can make plays. Looking forward to next week's game against the Cowboys, and I'm just excited that Raider football is here. And I think we're going to be able to do some things. Oh, by the way, Brock Bowers, he is as advertised. The 12 personnel, oh, you can see it. And Jacoby, come on. Jacoby's a stud. Jacoby is a stud. And Tucker, it's there. We just got to give it time. It's there. All right, Raider Nation. Keep up the good fight against the rest of the NFL like we always do. Remember, it's Raider Nation against everyone. And I mean everyone. Have a great week. Vader Raider out.
Vader Raider, it's always great to hear from you, my man. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. And when it comes to the quarterbacks, man, I like both as well. They both have good qualities. They really do. And I said this, a long time ago in the offseason that I was confident that either one of those guys could start a game on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium and you could feel like the Raiders could win. Both guys have proven that they could win games for the Raiders and win games in the league. So that's the positive, right? The defense, I'm not that concerned about. That run defense kind of turned me off a little bit. Obviously, 142 yards on the ground. You can't do that. You can't do that, man. You got to be stout against the point of the point of attack and stopping the run. If not, that's what teams are going to do to you all day is just run the rock, and you can't stop them. If this defense is going to be elite, like I think it's going to be elite, they can't do that. So that's obviously something that's a slight concern that I do think they'll get fixed around. But you mentioned it, Jack Jones, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, right? Others, they are as advertised, man. So yeah, there's a lot of positives to take away from this first preseason game. Thanks so much for the call. Like I said, I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Raider Rock. Says, AQ, it's Raider Rock from Tomball. I have been an O'Connell fan because of his accuracy and strong arm. But after watching him stand in the pocket and watching Minshew move, I believe Minshew is our best option. Keep up the great work. Love your show, Raiders. That's from Raider Rock. And yeah, that's the thing for me too, is that I really can appreciate him moving in the pocket. That moving in the pocket, stepping up, picking up, again, that critical third down. Go back and look at that first drive that Minshew's on after Jack Jones gets the interception. He's able to move up on a critical third down. Without picking up the first down, they're kicking a field goal. There's no touchdown pass to DJ Turner. That, to me, is game-changing times, right? That's the difference between 4 points, which clearly is the difference in the game, right? The Raiders lost by 1 point. Think about if everything had gone right for O'Connell on that first that first drive when the wide receivers run into each other, he's in the end zone instead of settling for a field goal. That drive looked like it was going to result in a touchdown. It just didn't. Again, not 100% his fault, but not having the ability to run and get up out of there and pick up the first down is going to harm this team, especially if the offensive line isn't solid. And right now they're missing two key cogs, Colton Miller, the left tackle, and JPJ, the left guard. Raider Rock, thanks for the text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Big E in the 209. He's calling to give his overall assessment of the game without overreacting, good or bad. Here he is, Big E in the 209.
What up, Q? This is Big E from the 209, man. I know you got a bunch of people calling on feedback from this, our first preseason game. I'd like to start off by saying everybody should just, take a deep breath, no overreactions to the first preseason game. Like, even the takes I'm about to go over right now, the takeaways I took from the game, they're not to be, over-exaggerated or just don't think too deep into it. Either way, AOC started the first drive. He looked decent. He throws a very good ball, very accurate, very precise, down the middle, down the field, great throw of the ball. But then you have Minshew come in, or the drive right after that, and I was going to ask that too, as far as how do they have the quarterback situation set up? Does one quarterback come in, and then if they, I was hearing mixed messages about how they were going to play the quarterback. So either way, Minshew comes in, he just looks comfortable. He looks like he's been there before. You had another caller on here before that was saying that this system of our offensive coordinator, his name escapes me, with Luke Getsy, his offense is tailor-made for Minshew and is going to make Minshew look really good. And he was right. This offense looked very smooth, calm, and easy. And Minshew made it look easy. Trey Tucker redeemed himself from training camp. He caught everything thrown his way. And again, Minshew looked great. Defense, the secondary looked great, obviously. The secondary looked like they came to play. And even if you were listening to the game from the Vikings, Vikings Entertainment Television, he even said too that they said that the Raiders looked like they came to play. So overall, it's nice to have football back again in general. But like I said, Trey Tucker redeemed himself at training camp. Minshew looks like he's ahead. Defense, I want to see some more from the defensive line. It's kind of a flat start from them, but like I said, not to look too deep into it. It's only preseason. Anyway, last thing, Q, you were 100% correct about Anthony Brown. Except he didn't have a good game. He got sacked like 3 times. He just looked horrible. Third string quarterback. No, nothing to, get too excited or angry about. Either way, have a good one, Q. Go Raiders.
Big E, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And that's the biggest key, man. You can't overreact, right? I say it all the time, especially with preseason games. It's never as good as it looks, and it's never as bad as it looks, right? I mean, you don't want to get too over the moon and be like, oh, man, this defense is going to be terrible because they can't stop the run. Oh, this defense is going to be lights out because they made a couple plays. Like, you don't want to do that. And then at the same time, oh, this offense is going to be phenomenal, right? Gardner Minshew is going to be great because he did this, that, and the other. Like, you got to take it with a grain of salt. So I think that, your overall assessment and the way that you're breaking it down, not getting too high or too low, I think is the best way to do it. I saw some fans have an absolute meltdown on Twitter on Saturday, and that's not okay. But the quarterback conversation was one quarter each, and that's just how it worked out. O'Connell only got the one drive because quarter number 1 ran out. So, I don't know if he's going to get the start on Saturday or if he's going to come in with the second quarter. I don't know. That has not been announced yet, as you heard from AP earlier. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, for the quarterback competition to be where it's at right now, and for neither one of those guys that have done anything to lose the job, like nobody did anything on Saturday that said, oh, yeah, they can't be the starting quarterback, right? They both had good things that they did, and that's a credit to them. Right. I mean, the reason why this competition is still close is because they both went out there and did good things. It wasn't like one was good and the other stunk. Right. It was, or even the fact that both stunk. That could have been the situation, too. And that wasn't it. So, Big E, thanks so much for that. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from JC in Syracuse, New York. He says, Q, terrible clock management by AP at the end of the game is a little scary. All in all, the guys that are going to make the roster look great. Quarterbacks looked as I thought they would. O'Connell could throw the ball, but doesn't seem to run the offense consistently or efficiently, while Gardner Minshew just makes things happen. Not overreacting, though. It's JC in Syracuse, New York. And, yeah, the clock management thing by AP, as you heard him, wasn't a good decision. He wouldn't do it again like that. He was very honest about that. I do think that was a little bit of confusing for me, because that's why there's guys on the staff like Marvin Lewis. That's why there's guys like Joe Philbin. That's why there's guys, that they can bounce ideas off of during the game if they're thinking about something. And for nobody to say, hey, this isn't the way it should go, that was kind of something that made me scratch my head a little bit. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think O'Connell runs the offense efficiently. I think he did some really good things. I mean, think about it. His one drive, and we only got to see one drive, so it was a small sample size. He started on the 5-yard line. Right, he delivers a ball over the middle to Michael Mayer, boom, right on time, first down. Right, he got the ball to Brock Bowers, boom, he's able to get him, get him going. Right, Jacoby Myers looks good, looks really good. Got him the ball multiple times. There's a couple passes here and there that he probably wishes he could have delivered a little bit better. Like I said, that one to Brock Bowers down on the the Vikings side of the field. If he delivered it to him a little bit earlier, it's probably a touchdown as opposed to just a big play. So, and he acknowledged that even after the game. So there's things to grow on. But again, it's just one preseason game. And for O'Connell, he only got one drive. So he didn't even really get a chance to get into a rhythm just because that quarter ran out. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. And hopefully AP and the coaching staff can make a decision on who the starting quarterback's going to be. But JC, thanks so much for that text. I appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Jacob in Hanford. Just got a couple more. He's calling to give his overall thoughts on the game.
What's up, Q? This is Jacob from Hanford. I wanted to run some things by you. I want to get your opinion. Am I seeing the right thing, or am I just way off? So, recap from the game. Zamir White looks better than advertised. This guy looks like he's going to be really good. I always thought that Josh Jacobs was more of a power runner than Zeus, but after watching how he runs, it's just a different kind of style. I know Josh would knock guys on their butt just because he's running at him super fast, he lowers his shoulders. Zeus is just a guy, even if he's not going so fast, he's just chugging down like a train, man. It's hard to just pull this guy down. It's not that you're slowing him down, but you just can't take him down. The guy's legs just keep driving. He's got so much power. And I don't know, it's like the first time I really got to see it this preseason. Anyway, there's that. The running game, I think we're going to be a lot better than I had initially thought, because dropping down from Josh Jacobs to Zeus, but I think we're not going to miss a beat. That's done with the running backs. With the quarterbacks, Aiden O'Connell looked good. Gardner Minshew looked even better, but Gardner Minshew had all these opportunities. For whatever reason, when Aiden was in, the drive sustained for a long time, and we didn't get the ball back in the first quarter. And then Gardner got 4 chances, one of them was because of a blocked field goal. But needless to say, Gardner, he did everything that he had to do to score, to get points on the board every single time. I'm pretty sure they got points on the board every time, not always touchdowns, but yeah, 3 drives, touchdown from Zeus, touchdown from Gardner, and then a field goal. So with that all being said, I'd like to see what Aiden is going to be able to do over the next few weeks. I think Gardner did better, but that's because he had more opportunities. I think that they both did well. And the quarterback competition is still very much in play. But I did see a lot of decisions from Gardner Minshew where he just wasn't doing the right things. He was running the wrong way. He was making a pass that he shouldn't have thrown. He's running backwards, throwing a pass to number 84. I forget who that was, but got him lit up. I don't want him to do that to Devontae Adams. But even so, I look at those, and those are things that can be coached out of him. Those are bad decisions that he's making. And he still, it's like if he played the game, he won the game. He made all those mistakes, but he still got the win. He did everything that he needed to do when it came to crunch time. And so that's really encouraging. But I'm wondering, because I've always thought that Aiden O'Connell had more room to grow. I'm wondering if maybe Gardner is the guy that has the higher ceiling and has more room to grow. You let me know, Q. What do you think about all that? Am I way off? I don't know. You let me know. Take it easy. Go Raiders.
Jacob, thanks so much. Zamir White definitely looks good, right? He's looked good all camp long. And it's hard to assess the running backs when they don't have the full pads on. When the full pads came on, Zamir White looked good. And the thing I've been saying about Zamir White, he even looks faster than he did, the previous years, right? He just didn't look like he was the fastest dude out there. But in camp, he looked like he was getting shot out of a cannon, right? It's just like, boom. And I remember looking over a couple times at Vinny. I was like, man, was that Zamir? Samir's running fast. Maybe because he only is the number 3 instead of 35. That extra 5 made him hold some weight down. I don't know. That extra 5 might have slowed him down or something. He did say he hated that jersey number. He said he hated 35, so he's excited to be in number 3. I don't know why he looks so fast, but he does. So I think the running game will be just fine. And Minshew got more opportunity just because of the way that the clock worked. I mean, it's just one of those situations. Sounds like that they're looking to try to have a decision on who the starting quarterback is going to be following this week's game. So we'll see. We'll see. But O'Connell and Minshew are there neck and neck for the starting quarterback role. Jacob, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And we'll close out with a text from Christian in Denver. Hey, Q, it's Christian out of Denver. Watched the game versus the Vikings and thought there was some good plays from our offense in the first few drives. I'm curious your thoughts on why O'Connell didn't play more. Could that mean that he's in a lead for QB1 as Minshew played the rest of the first half? It sort of feels like a toss-up with what we saw. O'Connell looked good, working from the pocket, pushing the ball downfield. We'd love to see him more from him and to hear your thoughts on his play in the one drive you saw from him as well as what you saw from Minshew. Much love, brother. That's Christian in Denver. And, yeah, as I said to other people, it was just a clock thing. He was scheduled to play one quarter, and Minshew was scheduled to play one quarter. It just worked out that O'Connell only got one drive and Minshew got like 4. Because of, turnover, the Jack Jones interception, then they had a blocked field goal attempt. And so just with the clock, Minshew just happened to be out there more times than not, 4 drives as opposed to the one drive from O'Connell. So hopefully we'll see more of O'Connell this week. But I thought both guys did well. I don't think that either guy hurt themselves in position to try to get that starting quarterback job. And really, they both showed that they can run the offense, which I think is a positive. So, Christian, thanks for the text. Appreciate you. And that's going to do it for today's show. Of course, there'll be more thoughts and texts and calls straight off the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line coming up on tomorrow's show. We'll have more news and notes and, get one day closer to another game. And this one will be at Allegiant Stadium versus the Cowboys. Excited about that one, seeing how this team continues to be put together and built. And Devontae Adams did want to give a quick update. His wife did have the baby, so he's back with the team. That's what Antonio Pierce told us on Sunday. So that's good to see, as he wasn't in Minnesota on Saturday for the game, and he had left training camp back about a week and a half ago on a Wednesday to be with her. So all is good on the baby front, and Devontae Adams is back. And that's the other thing. Can you imagine what the offense will look like when Devontae Adams is out there? Can you imagine what the offense will look like with a healthy Colton Miller and a healthy JPJ? It can only help, right? But, of course, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that throughout the course of the week. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.